Welcome to Own Your Breath, a sacred container to your authentic self. I'm your host, Rihanna Yusuf. By sharing of real, raw, honest experiences, expertise, and ideas from my guests and myself, together we will learn to embrace the full experience of being human. Through love, connection, and breath, let's release shame and welcome the unique beauty and strength of being authentically us. Welcome. Hello everyone, welcome back again to Own Your Breath podcast. I'm Rihanna Yusuf, and with me today is my dear friend Justin Hoffman. Hi Justin, how are you?
I'm well, just starting my day here. It's just came back from the gym with my son, 12-year-old son, and so just starting out here in Houston.
That's amazing. So Justin is in Houston, right?
Correct.
And long time ago, in our early 20s, we are in our 40s now, though we look like we are in our 30s. So in our very, very early 20s, we were friends in Singapore, more like party friends, actually. I'm surprised that we still remember each other by the amount of blackouts we had. So thank you for joining me today, Justin. Justin had got a great transformational story that I'm inspired, and I believe there's many people there will be inspired as well. Justin is the CEO and president of cSolutions, which is his company. He's also a co-founder of QUAR, Q-U-A-R Fitness, which is a family business that they launched during the COVID time. It's for adult and also kids fitness. So Justin's whole entire family is really into fitness. Even their children, his two kids actually, they're teaching other kids fitness program, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, amazing. And Justin also is an ambassador for Houston ambassador for Scottish Business Network, SBN, and an ambassador for Global Scot for Scottish Development International, SDI, the international arm of Scottish government and Scotland's enterprise agencies, and also an advisory board member of Energy Industries Council, EIC.
That's I'm exhausted just listening to myself.
But you know what? You're exhausted, but you are not physically exhausted, are you?
No, everything you've listed there actually happened after this. I decided to make a change. Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
I look at it transformational, because I know sometimes what I realize when I coach people, that when I told them you transform, they feel a bit shy to use this word transformational, because it's a powerful word. Yeah, I can say it because I'm the host. Your journey is transformational, and you.
To your point, people throw out the words inspirational and transformative, and I too am. It doesn't sit, comfortably with me. I'm like, oh, I'm on a journey here. I don't think I've transformed into this new entity. I think I'm evolving. I continue to evolve, say as with anything in life, whenever things are going great, that too shall pass. When things are going bad, that too shall pass.
I agree.
So it's a constant evolution. And just I think if you keep yourself open to what's going on around you, and as long as you've got a shoreline to head towards, I think that's I guess that's transformational.
It is, but I mean, I like the way how you phrase it. I mean, it's humility right there, and I like it. It's true, we are always evolving, and I really like the part that you said. Wherever you are, if you evolve to greater heights, that too shall pass. I love that awareness. And even you're having a hard time, that too shall pass. Both I've been there, and both I will forever still going up and down, and that's the truth.
Absolutely. I mean, the hope is that as you get into a better place emotionally and physically, that the levels, you're gradually going to be moving in the right direction. So even the downturns will not be as severe. But there's certain things. I mean, one of the main, guess, points of discussion for today was around, drinking and alcoholism, and something that I learned recently from a dear friend. In fact, she lost her brother just a couple of weeks ago, and we visited with him last week. She's been sober for 8 years, and she described alcoholism as this thing that's running along beside you. So you've always got to be aware of it. It'll try and fool you along the way and tell you, oh, you're okay, that's not a problem anymore. But the reality is it's going to always be with you, and as long as you're aware and keep your eyes wide open to that, then you can keep moving forward.
Wow, that's a great one. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, admittedly, when I was 23, I was an alcoholic. I wasn't bad alcoholic where, like you, I was high functioning. And all our friends were heavy drinkers. We were partying more like full time and hustling, working. It's normal. It's like, however, I felt, and I don't drink at home. I don't drink by myself. I drink classically until I reach a certain point. We all know what happened. So, I mean, like, look, those are my past, and I'm not ashamed of it. It makes me the person I am, as you are. Yeah, but I do know, like, I just feel something is not right. Like, no matter how many of my friends told me, you are not. We just love drinking, Rena. This is our time. Somehow deep inside, underneath my pride, underneath those partying, laughing, there's something is not right, Yeah. So I went to see a doctor. He said it is possible. I mean, basically, it's not about how much you drink. I did drink a lot, but even though alcoholism doesn't mean that you drink a lot crazy or lose yourself. The point that if you are depending on alcohol,
for certain situations, perhaps. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, and for me, I had anxiety before, which I didn't really realize, but I realized I've always go to alcohol to calm myself down, to to remove this, so it becomes then like my go-to. But
I've heard it of, I constantly feed myself with good information about the disease, which it is, and when you're in those situations, I'm sorry, I've got a little emotional there just thinking about, when you're growing up and everyone else is doing the heavy drinking, the binge drinking at the weekends, it becomes a normal part. But for me, it started changing when the drinking was to help me feel comfortable in situations I didn't want to be in, or to get away from a problem. And then the alcohol drinking became the problem that was causing the problems, and so the negative spiral came. So this, and then you just find yourself drinking earlier and earlier in the day, finding more reasons to get together with people, to be social.
Yeah.
And it just starts becoming destructive to everything around you, and that's where I find myself.
And then at that point, do you realize that you are an alcoholic?
Yeah, and it was a difficult one to admit to myself.
Yeah,
without question.
How old were you?
I don't think so I think you may have a problem if you get people will make a comment about, oh, you can drink so much, or you can you're always out partying, or you're always a couple of drinks ahead of someone, or people will make a suggestion, maybe you should have a glass of water in between your drinks, and maybe you should slow down. And there's all these little comments that you can kind of laugh off when you're younger, but as you get older, you don't want to turn into that guy. I think it was the fact that I was finding, I was starting to surround myself with people who I could call up and go for a drink.
Yeah.
And heading to the bar before I went home to try and put myself into a position that I felt I was more comfortable. But in fact, that was then causing problems, because I was coming home, I was smelling of alcohol, or you know, I'm in sales and business development as well, kind of roles. So there you're entertaining clients. So, you know, it'd start under the guise of entertaining clients, and then they'd go home, and then you'd have your core of guys who are probably in the same industry doing the same thing, and you'd end up going out for drinks with them until the late hours, and then coming home and continuing to drink, falling asleep on the couch, getting up, getting you know, and then doing your high functioning thing as you think. But, you know, what do you smell like? What do you look like? What do you, are you really performing at your highest level? I mean, I was doing a lot of exercise before, which I think was a counterpoint, you know, to the drinking. So I would still go out and binge, but because I was always aiming for the next, you know, race, half marathon, ultra marathon, and it gradually became bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. You know, I started with marathons, then maybe I could run faster, maybe I could do more, maybe I could run longer, maybe I could run faster. And then, you know, it was 2015 that I did an Ironman, and then I did a 3-day event in the Rockies, and then I stopped. Then I stopped exercising, and things just, you know, so where I was feeding the need for the endorphins, which I was getting from the high level of training, and then also from a little bit of drinking, which is still more than I think most people would do, to suddenly no training, and gradually the drinking became more and more part of, to make up for that deficit in my life. And I've spoken to I had a really good counselor here that I started seeing after I stopped drinking, and he described what it was like for people with addiction. So, and it could be from, you know, upbringing or a traumatic event, and so if you imagine you have a glass in front of you, and anyone with a well-adjusted and sort of happy or content childhood maybe has a glass that is 80% full. Those that maybe have had a traumatic experience or had a difficult upbringing, their glass is at, say, 20% full. So when you take that drink, the person who is 80% full is only filling it that little bit, that 20%. So you go, oh, this feels nice. Whereas here's someone with a deficit starting at 20%. You take that drink, you go all the way up to 100. It's an amazing feeling, and you just keep wanting to chase. That's the feeling you want to keep chasing. So you have one drink, then the drink has a drink, then the drink has you, and so I was never just well, let's go out for a drink. It was, I may go out with a client for a drink, a couple of drinks, but then afterwards it would be, okay, I know who I can call, and we can go out and have our business our business drinks afterwards, when in fact it was, you know, it was just more one of those.
I totally feel you. I mean, to me, I can see there's actually a lot of people that are alcoholics, you know, high functioning alcoholics, or like the healthier version of alcoholics. But you know, when you say he's an alcoholic or he's a drug addict, people have this version that they're gonna be like so bad, like, you know, but they're not. So many people are actually alcoholics. So, like I said, you know, I just say randomly, I used to be. I've got no shame, you know, because I worked myself all the way here. What, you are? But I question her, like, well, for all you know, maybe you are. Like you told me you drink 3-4 bottles of wine in one sitting, and in you know, over a few nights. I mean, that's something you might want to, you know, look into it.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of denial or things like
there's a lot of social norms around drinking as well.
Oh yes, that's absolutely true.
And you don't notice it until you stop, and then you realize how much of it is around you. But sorry, say that again. Maybe
even celebrate it, you know, like, oh, I can drink a lot, like I'm this outgoing person. Or
one of the most resilient industries is the hospitality industry, because people drink when they're happy, they drink when they're sad, they drink to celebrate, they drink to commiserate. You know, they drink because it's Sunday and it's, you know, fun day Sunday. It is an inherent, and you know, so I feel I had a few things working against me. One, Scottish, that we have a tendency to drink. Oil and gas industry, I think that's heavily hospitality based industry. And then coming here as well, it kind of doubled down because there's not the kind of ready access to, like, the outdoors. There's some beautiful patio bars, so come the weekend everyone goes and enjoys the outdoors by sitting in a patio bar and enjoying cocktails and beers and wine, and so that's a big part of
lifestyle.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's interesting. I'm finding there's a lot of the younger professionals aren't drinking the same way that we would. I mean, I'll give you an example. So when I first started working, our project director used to take us out at lunchtime down to the local bar for lunch, and lunch was a couple of pints at least, and then we'd maybe go down after an afternoon, coming back after 2-3 pints, come back in the afternoon, do some work, and then head to the pub after work. You know, he would have project meetings on the golf course, and you know, the rule of entry was bring a 6-pack of Stella, and so it was just norms. And then you know yourself in Singapore, Sunday brunch, bottomless champagnes and mimosas, and then off to the long bar for martinis, and then finish up at a friend's place with, you know, and just absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of that binge drinking, and you know, I think, you know, for sort of from an expat perspective, being in Singapore, you know, you're not around your family, as it were, so you're creating a new environment, and what helps lubricate uncomfortable situations more than alcohol. But what I also found, having stopped, is that there was a low level anxiety that now is gone. So I'm not uncomfortable. I don't need the Dutch courage of a drink before going out to a networking event or to entertain clients, because I'm suddenly way more comfortable in my skin, and I'm quite happy with me. So.
I totally agree. Like I hadn't quit drinking, but I've reduced by a lot the past decade, you know. Maybe once in a blue moon I have my parties, but hardly. But yes, like you, I mean, I have my anxiety still, but mine is a bit more of a family kind of thing. But I don't have anxiety to meet people anymore. In fact, I'm very good at meeting, doing live event face to face, whereas in the past I have to drink to do that. You know, if I get nervous now, when I'm being recorded, you know, because that's just something I'm not used to.
Well, I think as well, you want to be sure that you say everything you want to say.
Probably, that's different. So, Justin, would you like to share some of your past stories, some incident or lifestyles during those times? Just maybe a couple.
Well, I mean, I remember, you know, first starting drinking, you know, around 12, 13 years old. You know, you'd get the few beers, or some of our friends were doing a half bottle of whiskey or Bacardi, and we'd go to a friend's house for a house party, or go down the beach, or to a school dance, you know, and come home, and then it's the same thing. I mentioned obviously the example of my working environment. It was very, very drink orientated. It was fun. I don't know. I'll have to change the names to protect the innocent, but no, there was just
please do.
What would be a safe stuff? You know, waking up the next morning and figuring out where you'd been by looking at your credit card statements.
Yep.
You know, that's time traveling, and that's not a good thing. I know that in the environment we're in now with some of the other parents, like the dads would want to go out with me for a drink, and would go out once, and then their wives would say, "You're not going out with Justin again," because of the state that they would get themselves in. I wouldn't be that bad, but them, you know, I took on this persona. It wasn't a conscious persona, but I turn into this other individual when after a few drinks, you know.
Oh, I know.
Actually, when in speaking to my counselor about it, he said, what would help is if you could personify it, you know, give it a name. And without even thinking, I knew exactly who it was. It was the Baron. The Baron comes out, and he's great for it, but you will find yourself drinking more than you normally do, quicker than you normally do, jumping from here, there, having a great time until you're not anymore. And you know, you feel, and then hopefully nothing bad happens that evening, you know, to get you in trouble. You get picked up by the police for, you know, public intoxication, or you get into some altercation, or you, heaven forbid, you get into some kind of accident that hurts you or someone else. But just the next morning, coming through and checking your car, did I cause any damage to it? Did I again checking your receipts? Where was I? Getting a text from a friend that you have no frame of reference for. Oh, I saw you last night. You know, that's a little troubling. And I think you can write it off, and it is addiction. You know, the addiction is a disease. It's an addlement of the clarity of your mind. You know, you don't see your actions or the repercussions of your actions in the same light. You know, you can laugh them off, you can justify them, and you don't even feel anything about that. It's just, well, that's just what it is. It's, you know, and it's only when you have a moment to really reflect and see how destructive it is, and it needs to come from within.
At what point? What was your tipping point? Like, you know, that you decide that enough is enough.
Well, I'd started getting into this thought process that, you know, things weren't right at home, and thinking about, you know, divorce, and that was one of the things that, and then of course, you know, what would that mean for my children and my family, and how would that look? And then realizing that, well, actually, have I done everything that I could to salvage this? You know, have I made every effort? If I were to step away now, could I justifiably say to someone that I tried everything to keep this relationship together, or not? Because the repercussions of leaving, especially, you know, for families, repercussions in the kids are you know, you hear about all the stories. So I thought, okay, well, and then I was in Amsterdam on the way back from a business trip, and I was by myself. I was having a few drinks, a few more drinks, and walking around, and it just dawned on me how destructive, as I saw myself with some clarity for whatever reason, and realized, okay, this is destructive. Let's stop this. I didn't say I was going to quit. I just said, let's stop drinking and see and give it a go. And I didn't even, I still had in my mind, okay, let's give everything, because in the reality, my relationship isn't working. But I'm going to make sure there's no excuse that they could ever say that I didn't try.
Yeah, that's not you. Yeah.
So I was, again, giving up or recognizing you have addiction or doing something about it has to be a selfish decision. You can't do it for your spouse, you can't do it for your kids, can't do it for your mom, 100%. Can't do it for your work. It has to be a selfish decision.
Yeah.
I'm doing this for me.
Yeah.
And that's where it started from. And I'm very fortunate that I have a very supportive wife and family, and I was able to find a great counselor that I could talk with about, and he gave me a lot of the tools that I still use today to keep me moving in that direction. But as I came out of this, well, I'm going to make the best version of myself so I can prove that this marriage isn't working, to suddenly, wow, everything starts getting better around me, and my relationships with my wife and with my children are so much better, and I have more energy. I'm more present. I start my own company. We co-found a fitness company. I become, you know, sort of volunteering for these organizations, and I'm exercising again, you know, and I lose weight, and I look a lot better. I've actually bumped into a woman that I'd done an interview for her MBA like 4 years ago, and she looked at me, Justin, is that you? It's like, and she said, you look younger now than you did 4 years ago. What have you been doing? And she was in genuine shock, and I stopped drinking. It was yeah, remarkable. So you know,
That's
you feel
amazing.
better, you think better. Yeah.
Yes. I mean, just everything that we've spoken before is like really takes a lot of courage, strength, and, you know, great decision. I mean, like, you have to have the strength to make the decision.
The decision is the first one, because there's definitely, you know, how will I be perceived? How will I do my job? You know, how will, there's all those, so it has to be really a selfish decision. Really, and the reality is, I've continued to do, I've done more. I've managed to do more.
I believe you.
Than I would have been able to had I still been drinking and tried to do the work to improve my relationship, you know. Or
I think that's just so admirable, like especially when you say, have I done everything from my side? You are taking responsibility, you know, like, yeah. Especially for someone like you're doing so well, you know, you've got this lifestyle, drinking lifestyle, party lifestyle, like, which is could easily, you know, like, I've seen a lot of my friends in their 40s that's still doing it. Look, and there's nothing wrong, but I could easily see that they, you know, that they could have tried harder, like you did, you know, instead of saying, it's really, if you want to find a lot of excuses, we could, you know, like,
oh yeah, absolutely,
you know, but that's just great strength, and that's why, you know, wisdom. That's great wisdom from your side, the insight that you could think beneath your ego, you know, underneath your ego, underneath your pride, you know, you weigh different areas in your life. Yeah.
It's interesting what I've found as well. The more that you, and thank you for this opportunity to kind of talk about it. I find as well, when in situations where people are drinking, you know, a hospitality or a networking event or whatnot, or more often in a one-to-one, you know, when people find out, especially people that I know or people that have known that I drink, or I had a drink with them before in the past, they find out that I don't. I wouldn't say a week goes past that someone doesn't have the conversation with me about what it is, what it, you know, why, and then starts the self-reflection on themselves, and and I guess from a perspective of could they do it? So I think there's to your point, there's lots of people out there who could fall into the bracket of alcoholic, and it's not not necessarily what you think it is, but if you've
yes, absolutely,
it's not the poster of the bad guy or the bad woman who's in the streets rolling around,
totally fine, totally professional. Yeah. Absolutely. I'm sure you faced some challenges during this journey.
Oh, sure.
You know, yeah. Can you share with us some of the things you faced?
Yeah, at times it gets easier over time, but it's a day by day, sometimes hour by hour, sometimes minute by minute, sometimes second by second, especially the beginning. You know, that's you know, with any habits, there are habitual things you do. So like, okay, driving home from work, I'm just gonna go into the, you know, drive into the bar. Or it's a beautiful day, I could really crush a beer and a burger right now, you know, because that goes really well together.
Yeah.
And so it's riding those urges that's challenging.
Yeah.
Anyway, so it can, and I mentioned earlier friend of mine who does AA and described the fact that, you know, alcoholism is this little thing, this little guy that's running right alongside you, and he'll be just at any little, just when you're feeling at your most powerful, I've got a hold of this, I'm on top of this alcoholism, I don't need a drink. Then a little voice will go, well, yeah, of course you've conquered it. So that'd be cool. You could like have a drink. Couldn't you? Yeah. And you suddenly you go, whoa, what could I go out and just have a drink? And well, you know, 2 wouldn't be bad. That's just 2 drinks. People have 2 drinks. But the reality is, and how she described it and how to be described is, you don't go back to the beginning. You go back to where you left off.
Oh, yeah.
So that 1 drink turns to 2 drinks, turns to 3 drinks, turns to 5, 10, and you're out doing it every night. So there's that. It's there. And what do you want? What do you think you're going to gain?
Yeah.
By going back to what are you really missing? Stop for a minute and show some gratitude to the effort you've put in up to this point, and how your relationships have improved, your functionality, your health.
Yeah.
You know, people have setbacks, absolutely. But you know, I think you need to be, especially if you're on the journey of this coming out from addiction, realize that it's right there beside you, just waiting for a moment to sneak back in and make you think you're okay.
To be fair, those times were so fun. It's so fun when you're partying, and that's the truth. And God knows how we party. You know, and that's why I feel the transition from that lifestyle to where you are now is so admirable, because that's pretty hard lifestyle. You know, if you know, just understand.
There's the heady days. You know, the drinking and one-upsmanship and the banter and the back and forth and the dancing and the
glam, you know, all this.
Absolutely, but you realize that alcoholics know how to have a good time. Yeah. And the reality is, they don't need alcohol to have a good time. They were just that was a fuel at that point. But what I've found now is I do have good times. I really don't need what would the alcohol do? It would take me from that, maybe give me that amazing boost of feeling, and then I'd be back down to shoveling beers and calling up those same friends who may, in fact, interestingly, quite a few of my friends have actually gone on the journey as well to some degree or another, or are considering seriously what it would mean. But everyone's on their own path, you know, and as I said before, it has to be a selfish decision. For me, I've gone and off through the years, you know, like I've stopped. I mean, I don't think I'm an alcoholic anymore since when I stepped my 30s. But then I've stopped drinking 1 year, 2 years, things like that. Yeah. I realized something is, as the older I get, I'm okay with red wine. My body can accept red wine. But the moment I drink anything else, and then the trouble begins. My body just can't take it. Like, there's something, red wine I can drink and I still feel subtle. But if I drink vodka, worse, I don't even touch vodka. Forget shots, but or gin, 1 glass, 2 glasses is okay. But if I'm having stress and you know you lost count and then you lost yourself, so I just stay away and stick to my wine these days, and of course still at a, you know, maybe once a week or once every 2 weeks. Yeah. The moment that's where I am. Yeah, I mean, you're going to go through, I mean, I've gone through stressful situations, but they become a lot easier, and you've got, whereas before I was dulling those emotional reactions or trying to calm them or hide them in some way. Now I'm embracing all those emotions and letting them wash through me and not trying to stymie them in any way. Yeah, I love that. Yeah. Not trying to put something on top of them to So it's getting used to feeling those again, feeling that again. Yes,
it's important, you know, to feel the feelings, you know, like, I think this is what I do, like, probably like some of my friends or family even find it uncomfortable how vulnerable I can be. You know, I've always been actually, I mean, I'm beneath or, you know, people think I'm the strong person, blah, 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 which I am. But I'm also this fragile, vulnerable person, you know.
And that's okay to have both those sides of you.
Yes, they're all me, right?
Yeah.
But I just come from a family that's not comfortable with emotions of outside.
Sure. Yeah.
And maybe, and even some friends. And so what I do now, and it hurt me when I couldn't, you know, tell them. Maybe I can tell them a little, but not too much, you know?
Yeah.
So what I do now, I'll sit with myself, feel the pain, cry it out, reach out. If I have to reach out to my friends in UK or somewhere else, that's what I do, because, you know, you're not limited.
You find your people.
Yes,
you find
exactly.
your people.
You know, it works, and you don't actually feel you're alone or don't belong.
That's a big thing. You are definitely not. You're not the only person in the world that's ever gone through what you're going through, what you're feeling. And you know, going back to what we touched on the top of the hour, that, you know, this too shall pass.
I find, okay, this is just my opinion, and I apologize in advance if this is not right to some people. I find whatever we are discussing now, like this openness, or, you know, I find it easier for me to discuss with Westerners.
All right. Okay.
Yeah. And like even my vulnerability feelings or whatever my struggle, I will reach out to my friends overseas, because I feel they've got more, I think they are more open to, you know, this drinking culture. And then they, you know, they also realize later on, they realize that, you know, how it's impacted them, where they come from. Whereas in Asian culture, again, this is just my opinion, but I feel in Asian culture, there's a little bit more of masking it, you know, like face value. But it all comes from, it's conditioning. You know, it's conditioning, because since we were children, we were not allowed so much to be vulnerable. You know, we have to perform, we have to be worthy, we have to be something. You know, if you teared, just wipe your tears, you know, be grateful, things like that. So I think that's why I just find it easier, you know. And it's opening up now in Singapore. I speak for Singapore. It's opening up now bit by bit. Still, I'm pretty sure at the moment, I won't get an Asian that will speak openly like this. But I just hope that people, whoever you are, white, brown, green, blue, black, just know, you know, wherever you are, that's where you are, but that's not your final destination. And
absolutely,
the more open you are, the more you accept what's happening and where you are, the easier it is for you to shift.
Absolutely. Yeah. And this has been that has been an important journey for me, because culturally, the idea, I struggled with the idea of getting therapy or talking to someone. You know, because again, you look at a lot of men. I think, yeah, you're probably
it's conditioning, it's programming, you know,
absolutely.
unfortunately.
And generational as well. That I think certainly my father or my grandfather, they weren't about to go talk to somebody about their drinking. There was just, you know, shut up. This is what I do. This is
what men do.
You know, yeah.
Like I grew up. Sorry, go on, please.
So there's the desire to keep that strength, that exterior. You know, this is who you are, as if being defined in your teens or your early 20s is what you need to be the rest of your life. You know, you're still evolving through all that time, and I think there's plenty of room for you to evolve thereafter. You know, if you don't make it in your teens, you can make it in your 20s. If you don't make it in your 20s, you can make it in your 30s. Your 30s and your 40s. There's no right time. It's just your time to evolve, and people can either come along with you, or you blaze your own trail in some way. But ultimately, you're doing it. You do it for yourself, and then you'll naturally attract the right people around you.
Yes. Just to add to that point, I know sometimes it feels scary when you start losing people. When you're leveling up, you will lose people. It's just how it is. But I also guarantee you, you will naturally attract people that's meant to be in your new path. So
absolutely, I believe people come in. I believe people come into your life, some for a short time, some for a long time, some for that period of time that you needed them, you know.
Yeah.
And it's and I mean, I lost a dear friend recently, and he and I were very close. I mean, as far, if you want to call soulmates, as close as could be. There was a lot of alcohol involved in a lot of our get-togethers, but there was a closeness and a bond there as well.
Yeah.
He recently took his own life.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
And unfortunately, over the last 2 years, because I too was on my own journey, and a lot of the communication we hadn't had a chance to see each other for some time because of COVID, and a lot of our communication had been sporadic texts, and then in hindsight, when because I was on my journey, and I was wondering how to bridge that transformation with him. But I know he loved me, and I had a lot of love for him, but it was just getting to that point, and then trying to talk to him as well. Like, he'd be on the phone and he'd make some excuse to leave and then not call back. And talking to between our friends, he gradually pulled away and pulled away and pulled away from us all until it finally happened. So that's been another, it's difficult. I wondered when we traveled to San Diego last week if I might drink again.
I'm really sorry.
But this is a journey that I'm committed to at this point, and I know that he was supportive.
I'm sure, especially if
and so those people that love you and have your best interests, they'll stay with you, or your good time friends may have something to say. They may not. They may be supportive, but you realize that your time with them is toxic, or maybe maybe toxic, or maybe a challenge for you, and that's okay. This is ultimately, this is your life. You're going through this.
Yes.
And if you want to improve it, you've got to put yourself first.
Yes, I agree.
And then everything good will come from that. Anything that's meant to come to be, it will come from that. Just stick the course,
Yeah. So Justin, first, I'm really sorry for your friend, your best friend. So how many years have you been off alcohol?
So I did a quick reckoning. So tomorrow will be 900 days.
Ooh, this is perfect. This is like an anniversary gift or celebration or something.
On the cusp of 900, yes.
Yes, wow. Okay, so biggest question, important question.
Okay.
So out of these 900 days, I think in order for a change to occur, people want to know, what is it that have you gotten? How has your life changed, ever since you stopped?
Well, everything you read, all that lovely little bio you read, that all came in those 900 days.
Wow.
The last 2 years as well in lockdown, I've taken my son on fantastic road trips. Yeah. I know that my wife would have been deeply concerned had I still been drinking. Had I been the person before, and taken him on a road trip, she'd be deeply concerned about that happening, because wherever I'd be, I'd inevitably be drinking, in what kind of state, and here's her son and our son. So there's been that. I've taken my children on road trips together, just the three of us.
That's amazing.
It's just really all been positive. Now, there have been times I've white knuckled it, just holding on, getting through those moments that I really want a beer, and then also having to combat the little voice saying, hey, you probably got a handle on this. You could have it, right? You know, so it's trying to attack you in many different ways. But you know, I keep holding to. I've used tools to help me. So, like for example, on Instagram, I'll have in my feed things about sober motivation and inspiration and stories along those lines. So you keep that ticker going. I have a counselor I was dealing with. He gave me a tool called urge surfing. So you identify the person that you want to be, and so in my case there was a gentleman, a father of a good friend of mine, who I always thought was that's who I'd like to be. That's who I'd hold up as the kind of person that you want to be in this, as a father and a husband, and so I have that in my sights. That's the shoreline I'm surfing towards. But along the way, you've got these urges. It's okay, you can have a drink, or you know, and so it's avoiding that. And so I've even named my phone urge surfing. So every time I plug it into my car, the name comes up, urge surfing. So it's this constant. I'm feeding myself these reminders, and so it is daily work, but it's disguised as little post-it note, you know. Or
I like it.
So you see these things and remind you, and then I'll express my gratitude as well. That's helped immensely. Express my love, and also ask difficult questions of my wife and of my kids about who I was before and who I am now.
Yes.
You know,
yes.
To hear. It's not easy to hear. To have, so there's, I've had realizations along the way, and I've asked the question of my wife, you know, what it must have been really difficult to deal with me in this situation, you know, coming home, blackout, you know, not remembering anything, but saying things to you that were maybe cruel or harsh, mean, and then waking up and I have no memory of it. So I'm fine. And then why was she acting that way? Obviously, there's a problem with our relationship, and it's her, you know, because it's not me. I'm fine.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one. Right.
So that was So it's asking some difficult questions along the way and getting those answers, and that, you know, it can definitely feeling all the feels.
love. It's so important.
Yeah.
Okay, Justin, thank you so much. I tremendously enjoy our conversation. I seriously do. I really admire your courage, your strength, the decision you make to choose you. Not just to choose your family, that's of course you did, but most importantly to choose you. That's the greatest act of self-love. You know, only when you truly love yourself, then you could love others, you know, even deeper. That's where true connection happens.
Absolutely. And, you're no longer wearing a mask.
Yes.
Putting on a face, you know, putting on airs. I do feel very comfortable because I put myself first, and yeah.
There's so many things I get out of this conversation, honestly, and very important. What I keep on hearing is the removal of ego. There's a lot, I think, in your journey. What I'm hearing, the removal of ego and humility. So I'm going to wrap up this conversation. It's amazing. I could go on talking to you. Unfortunately, Anchor's going to cut me off in an hour, but I'm going to wrap it up. I think the greatest takeaway, I mean, there's so many takeaways, but I think if I have to pick one, I think to start this journey to change anything or any bad habits or anything is the removal of ego, deeper self-awareness, self-love, and humility, and asking the hard questions.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, until part two.
Part two, yes. Justin, please come back. I want you to come back.
No. I've really enjoyed this. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you so much for joining me. And yes, thank you, everyone. I'm Rihanna, and this is Justin. Till next time. Thank you. See you guys. Bye.
Bye, everyone.